You're watching ChillyBoy Productions. I'm Larry, ChillyBoy Chillson, and this is my ranking of the 7 comic book films released in 2022. Now, before we get into this countdown, make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button down below so that you can chill with me on each and every one of my latest videos. We are at the end of yet another year, which means, of course, we have lots and lots of end of year lists and countdowns, beginning with the comic book films of 2022. Now, with all of these different shows and series, it honestly felt like a really crowded year when it comes to comic book films. But ultimately, I could only come up with 7 that I watched in 2022. Now, I know there's maybe one or two that have very loose adaptations to comics. And to be honest, I haven't really seen those. And we had a couple of Marvel special presentations when it comes to like Werewolf by Night or the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, but I'm also not including those. I'm only ranking the 7 theatrically released major motion pictures full length features of the year. Now, the obligatory reminder, particularly when it comes to this countdown, because it'll be probably quite contentious all the way around. You know, we always have to go to war and go to battle and all that hoopla when it gets down to comic book properties. But at the end of the day, this is just my list. This is just how I personally feel when it comes to these films, how I connected with them, and ultimately why I put them where they are. You will likely have a different ranking, a different list, and different reasonings, and I cannot wait to hear those in the comment section down below. So make sure to sound off with your own personal rankings. So without further ado, let's kick it off at number 7, my least favorite comic book film of 2022. Well, this was easy. Unequivocally, it's Morbius. Yeah, we were done with that Morbin time long before it even began. This was a mess. It felt like a worse version of a 2000s comic book film. Between the muddled, weird visual style and the less than complete visual effects themselves, the wooden, stale performances, and the overly generic and boring plot, there was just nothing to be excited about in Morbius. Well, other than Matt Smith's iconic dance. Everything else was a bland snooze fest. All of the worst aspects of comic book films rolled into one toothless vampire package. Again, at number 6, I have Black Adam. Now, I know a lot of you loved this film. You had a lot of fun with it. You thought it was great. Some of y'all were even saying misunderstood. Please, what is there for me to misunderstand? Now, the incels, okay, they did misunderstand just a little bit because they thought this was an apolitical film. It's definitely not that. And that aspect I appreciated with Black Adam, talking about colonization and aid, basically, from outside sources, having your own hero. Unfortunately, that's pretty much all I liked. Well, other than our boy, Pierce Brosnan, who killed it. Otherwise, Black Adam was an over the top and ridiculous film that took itself way too seriously for the bonkers type of filmmaking that was being on display. It's just drowned in that orange hue that they insist on putting over every film that sets itself in Mexico or the Middle East. We get it. The Rock is sucked of all of his charisma. None of the acting performances, really, all around, are all that good. The special effects are not very good either. And the slow mo style of DC filmmaking strikes once more. It does have some dumb, fun, turn your brain off type of qualities to it. However, as I said, it has that socio political commentary. It takes itself way too serious to be a plain, just dumb, fun type of film. Flying in at number 5, I have the DC League of Super Pets. Yes, our animated entry for the year also features The Rock's second entry on this list. And if I'm being honest, both of these films starring The Rock are pretty interchangeable in this fifth and sixth position. However, I think that League of Super Pets is just a little bit more cohesive. The writing's a little bit better in this one, and that's why ultimately it landed above. The problem here is that it's just so generic and not nearly funny enough. I did not laugh like I was hoping to with this property. The trailers really tried to sell it as this big bombastic comedy action film. And I mean, it gets kind of big, it gets kind of bombastic, but really the jokes just fall flat time and time again. There is some really fun moments to be had here, though, particularly seeing these pets delve into the superhero roles. I really enjoyed our little villain. I thought she was kind of awesome. At the end of the day, this is probably the most forgettable film on this entire list, including the two films I ranked beneath it. Coming in at number 4, I have Thor, Love and Thunder. I have to admit, for a while, this was my number 3 pick. I really struggled between putting this at 3 or 4. At the end of the day, I think ultimately Love and Thunder is just not quite as good and cohesive and well made a film as my number 3, 2, and 1 picks. But I'm going to be honest, I had fun with Thor Love and Thunder. I think it is funny enough. There are so many jokes thrown at the screen here that, of course, a good portion don't land, but enough do land that I was laughing consistently throughout the film. I love Jane Foster's arc and everything to do with her character. I loved Gore and everything to do with his character, and that black and white Shadow Realm battle sequence was one of the most stunning sequences put to screen in 2022. It looked amazing. Thor continues to be an amazing character. Chris Hemsworth kills it as the character. Of course, we got Thor booty on the big screen. Yeah, there was no way I could hate this film based on that alone. And I think the emotion rings true in the third act. Yeah, it doesn't all work. It's not all beautiful, but I have fun with it. I think it's a good time. The internet hate towards Taika Waititi and this film specifically is far too much, in my opinion. So Thor comes in smack dab in the middle at number 4. Soaring in at number 3, I have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So, as I said with Thor Love and Thunder, oh, this 3 and 4 spot are really, really close for me. Ultimately, though, I think Sam Raimi was just a little bit more successful in accomplishing his overall vision for Multiverse of Madness. This is camp in a comic book film. All y'all, take notes. If you think that Black Adam was serving camp, go ahead and watch Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness and see what camp in a superhero film really is. Visual effects are amazing. They look fantastic. They're innovative and fun. They push the envelope while giving that distinct Sam Raimi style throughout. Elizabeth Olsen absolutely kills it as Wanda. She is giving the performance that this film needed, and I was living for it. Plus, Wanda as a character is so interesting and fun. I love seeing her explore the darker side of this character because, yeah, she started as a villain in Age of Ultron, but if you know anything about Wanda Maximoff, well, she falls into villainous territory quite often in those comic books. So, score is a lot of fun. And right up there with the Shadow Realm and Love and Thunder, that musical note battle between the two Stranges is one of my favorite moments this year. I loved that. It moves fast, it gives us fun moments, though I do wish it had more multiversal madness involved. And yeah, I really wish America Chavez was an actual character, not just a MacGuffin running around with everyone. But by and large, I really enjoy Multiverse of Madness. It has its faults, but definitely started cracking and showing themselves more and more as I thought about the film, but it still stands as a solid, unique entry to the comic book landscape. Muscling in to number two, I have Black Panther Wakanda Forever. See, I love me some Namor, clearly, and I loved this film. Namor is the standout as Tenoch is so good in this role and looks so good in that little costume they put him. But what a compelling, fantastic villain in a year that was full of really strong comic book film villains, particularly from Marvel, who's been known to drop the ball in that aspect. But Letitia Wright really redeemed herself here with a stellar performance as Shuri, and what a wonderfully written arc she gets in this film. Angela Bassett is a force to be reckoned with yet again. As always, she is amazing in this film and also a really interesting character. The action set pieces are fantastic when we do get them. They are big and probably more grand than those in the first film. All of the visual effects are a huge improvement over the first Black Panther, and the emotional weight and depth that this film brings to the surface is really fantastic. Not only do we center the emotional resonance around Chadwick Boseman and in turn T'Challa's death, it never feels exploitive. It never feels unearned. It honestly feels like a beautiful, moving tribute to both the actor and the character. And I loved it. I think they handled that so amazingly well. Also loved the ideas behind colonialism. Once again, we're talking about these major nations, these powerhouse worlds that are uninhibited by white colonization. And they built themselves up to be the two most powerful places on planet Earth. And that's just amazing to see. And seeing the parallels was really well done. Particularly upon second watch, I do think that parts of the middle portion, the second act, drag on just a bit too much. And a big part of that has to do with unnecessary storylines being added in here. But overall, Wakanda Forever was a feat, an emotional powerhouse, a bombastic, larger than life comic book film, and certainly a worthy sequel to one of my still personal favorite Marvel films. So, at number one, my favorite comic book film of 2022 is The Batman. The first one to release this year, still the best one for me. The Batman is pretty easily still my favorite comic book film of 2022. As much as I loved Wakanda Forever, as much as it resonated with me, there just wasn't anything in there to quite touch what Batman brought to the screen. Matt Reeves crafted this amazing, beautifully shot, well crafted film. It's easily the best made actual movie on this list from pretty much every aspect, save maybe cinematography, which I might give the edge to Black Panther. But Reeves gives us this dark and gritty Batman film like we come to expect when it comes to the Dark Knight himself, but one that's filled with hope, one that has a light at the end of the tunnel, one that explores Batman as a person in a way we haven't really done in any of the live action films, if I'm being honest. Robert Pattinson is absolutely amazing as the Batman. Let's just say that right now, people doubted him. He's so good with just the eyes in his acting performance. But really, everybody in this film is so good. Selena Kyle kind of steals every scene she's in. Paul Dano is perfectly unhinged. Colin Farrell? Oh, forget about it. One of his many amazing performances of the year. The action here is brutal. You feel each and every punch that is landed on the screen. You feel the intimidation. One of the most intimidating Batmans we've gotten to screen, and I love how it kind of plays out like a horror film in so many ways. The score from Michael Giacchino, oh, is so fantastic. screenplay is fantastic. Just the way the film is constructed by and large is so good. It pays wonderful homage to who the Batman is as a character, as a detective, as a superhero, as a broken man. And it handles all of those things to dang near perfection. I might argue that this is my favorite Batman film put to date. And that's saying something because this is one of those heroes that gets filmed constantly, that has a million different iterations at this point. This just rang true on every level. I love it. It's one of my absolute favorite films of 2022, period. And it held that crown as my personal favorite superhero or comic book film of 2022. So that was my ranking of the 7 comic book films released in 2022. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below and subscribe to the channel so that you are always up to date on all of my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. I want to hear your ranking of these 7 films. Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.